Thank you for joining us. Today we'll be discussing the impact of sleep on overweight and obesity in children and adolescents. We will also be presenting the idea of a national public health campaign focused on family routines and pediatric sleep recommendations. Sleep plays a critical role in children's development and daily functioning. Despite this knowledge, children's sleep durations continue to decline and sleep problems are becoming more prevalent. There are a multitude of consequences of poor sleep among children and adolescents, including behavioral problems, impaired learning and school performance, mood and emotional regulation, sports injuries, and declining health, inclusive of obesity. Children and adolescents who sleep for a shorter duration have approximately twice the odds of overweight and obesity compared to those who sleep longer durations. In fact, the Bonnick study suggests that increasing young children's sleep duration is considered among the most promising strategies for reducing childhood obesity. Short sleep duration is linked to obesity through multiple pathways, including hormonal and behavioral changes. Sleep deprivation influences hormonal changes that regulate the hunger center, resulting in increased hunger and appetite, especially for foods rich in fats and carbohydrates. Children who do not achieve quality or adequate sleep duration consume more energy-dense foods with increased food cravings and may exhibit poor impulse control. Shorter sleep durations have also been tied to children who engage in less physical activity. Limiting energy homeostasis could lead to weight gain over time if sleep loss is extended for longer periods. Poor quality and quantity of sleep impacts metabolic changes that increase insulin resistance and inflammation. The low-grade systemic inflammation found in individuals with obesity is considered to be a key link between obesity and obesity-related disorders, which include dyslipidemia, type 2 diabetes, metabolic syndrome, and cognitive impairment. Sleep deprivation associated with decreases in energy expenditure that result from reduced thyroid function can potentially reduce resting energy needs or cause a disturbance with neural circuits that control body weight. In this day and time, our society embraces a 24/7 lifestyle, making it difficult for families, children, and caregivers to get adequate and/or quality sleep. As childhood obesity rates continue to increase, the decline in sleep duration across the early lifespan has had a noted decrease. The following have been identified as areas that need improvement. Age-appropriate bedtimes and wake times with consistency based on timing and regularity was a common barrier identified in 15 of the reviewed studies. Late bedtimes were consistently associated with shorter sleep durations, longer periods to fall asleep, and more frequent night awakenings. Schedules and routines based on daily routines and bedtime routines was a common barrier identified in 11 of the reviewed studies. Bedtime routines that include activities such as active play, drinking, and snacking are associated with poorer sleep outcomes. Location, based on noise levels, comfortability, and lighting, was a less common barrier identified and was only noted in 3 of the reviewed studies. Children may be affected by changes in lighting and noises and may have disrupted sleep if they share a room with another individual. Electronics, based on screen time including television, media, computers, tablets, video games, and phones, was a common barrier identified in 14 of the reviewed studies. The advances in technology promote media use at all times of the day for all age groups, displacing activities such as sleep and physical activity. Screens from electronic devices that emit light have the potential to elicit a direct effect on human alertness, sleepiness, and circadian rhythmicity. Exercise and diet based on timing of activities, amount of activity, caffeine, eating before bed, and sugar consumption were common barriers identified in 10 of the reviewed studies. Consumption of tea and coffee, as well as other foods and beverages with stimulating effects such as chocolate and caffeine-containing colas and heavy, high-fat meals, contribute to decreased sleep duration. In addition, heavy physical activity and exercise prior to bedtime impact energy levels such that sleep onset is delayed. Positivity based on family conflict, emotional environment, relaxation, and parent-child conflict was a common barrier identified in 9 of the reviewed studies. Children that were exposed to higher levels of family conflict in their homes had shorter sleep durations, impaired sleep sufficiency, and increased nighttime activities. When parents had poor sleep-related attitudes, their children had more subjective sleep problems. This was related to level of parental functioning. Independence based on parental presence and sleep associations was a less common barrier identified and was only noted in 3 of the reviewed studies. Allen et al. Explains that the most important factor in suggested bedtime independence is the ability for children to fall back to sleep on their own after night awakenings. Not being able to fall back to sleep independently means decreased sleep for the entire family. Needs met during the day based on meeting attachment and emotional needs was a common barrier identified in 9 of the reviewed studies. Poor emotional well-being, such as loneliness, poor self-esteem, reduced self-acceptance, critical attitudes, and internalization of problems were associated with poorer sleep outcomes. Also, physiological sleep disorders such as chronic insomnia, delayed sleep phase syndrome, restless leg syndrome, and sleep-disordered breathing were also identified as factors impacting sleep duration in children and adolescents. Allen et al. Has provided a list of common pediatric sleep recommendations targeting aspects of sleep that, if addressed, could significantly impact sleep duration and its effects on overall health. This list may look familiar as they were presented initially as barriers. However, if action to mitigate the issues associated with these variables is taken, duration and quality of sleep may be restored. Each of these have been rated for the degree of intervention. Impact is strong, moderate, or unlimited. We will address the strong and moderate variables with some exceptions that we felt warranted inclusion. Age-appropriate bedtimes and wake times with consistency has strong to moderate support for specific bedtimes and wake times to ensure appropriate sleep duration. Recommended bedtime should be no later than 9 p.m. and a regular sleep schedule should be maintained. Schedules and routines that are based on daily routines and bedtime routines have strong support as an intervention for establishing bedtime routines, while support for wake time routines and daytime routines is insufficient. Electronics, based on screen time use of all varieties, garners strong support for removing electronics from the bedroom at bedtime. However, limiting electronic use for an hour before bedtime has insufficient support. Positivity based on family conflict, emotional environment, relaxation, and parent-child conflict garners moderate support as an intervention for establishing a positive atmosphere. The interventions based on parents' attitudes about sleep and child's pre-bedtime level of activity is limited as there are not enough studies to support these recommendations at this time. Independence based on parental presence and sleep associations garners strong support for children to fall asleep in their own beds without parents. Needs met during the day based on meeting attachment and emotional needs garner moderate support for ensuring children's emotional needs are met during the day. Outside of this list, we also included sleep disorders which significantly impact sleep duration. Physiological sleep disorders require separate treatments depending on specific systems and viable treatment options. I will now turn the presentation over to Susie to discuss the National Public Health Campaign focused on family routines and pediatric sleep recommendations.
32% of children and adolescents aged 2 to 19 years are considered overweight or obese, nearly tripling numbers in the last 3 decades. Health consequences associated with obesity, such as cardiovascular disease, musculoskeletal problems, type 2 diabetes, stroke, and cancer, are well documented along with the mental and emotional consequences of being overweight or obese. Children getting less than 10 hours of sleep per night at age 3 have a 45% chance of being obese at age 7 compared to those that get 12 hours of sleep. Children who get less than 12 hours of sleep during the first year of life are 2 times more at risk of being obese at age 3. It has been reported that each additional hour of sleep obtained during middle childhood, 5 to 11 years of age, reduced the risk of obesity at the age of 32 by 35%. Issues with parenting rules, regulations, supervision pertaining to health behaviors may be a potential mediator to explore and better understand why staying up later, sleep and later behaviors occur. Children's and or parents' executive functioning skills to plan and organize may be compromised and lacking. Most parents in the 2014 Sleep in America poll reported having sleep-related rules, but parents of older children reported enforcing fewer rules as children became older. 70% of parents enforced rules for 6 to 11-year-olds, and only 35% enforced bedtime rules for children 15 to 17 years of age. We propose a national public health campaign targeting early childhood interventions for healthy sleep habits and adequate sleep duration. The framework for intervention and policy change follows the recommendations of London and Brockman-Dinner. The public health entities by which we could begin to promote the campaign include the American Academy of Pediatrics, AAP, Bright Futures, a set of comprehensive health guidelines for well child care, WIC, Best Beginning, Parents as Teachers, Head Start, and current public health community clinics. Longer sleep periods are associated with decreased BMI, even in children that are considered obese. Children found with shorter sleep durations have a 58% increased risk for obesity. This risk was reduced by 9% for every 1 hour of increased sleep duration. Review studies suggest that increasing young children's sleep duration is considered among the most promising strategies for reducing childhood obesity. It is evident consistency in bedtime and wake times, time routines, limiting electronics before, during, and after bedtime, and going to sleep independently in a positive, low-stress environment are key recommendations to improve sleep practices. When children see their parents engage in healthy sleep behaviors, it sends a positive message about the importance of sleep. Therefore, it is imperative to address the entire family about intervention to improve sleep duration and quality. To increase successful interventions targeted to decrease overweight and obesity rates, it is important to address lifestyle behaviors for children and families before they become part of an individual's permanent lifestyle. Since many of the predictors of obesity overlap, structuring a program that targets multiple lifestyle behaviors will have a more substantial impact on an individual's health status. It is imperative that healthcare professionals provide prevention-based sleep education for parents early in a child's development to attenuate and prevent obesity and its long-term consequences. In addition, developing tools and resources for non-sleep specialists to identify and manage pediatric sleep problems allows for a broader scope of treatment for the population at large. The use of simple mnemonics such as BEARS, B-E-A-R-S, which means bedtimes, excessive daytime sleepiness, night awakenings, regularity and duration of sleep, and snoring, provides an easy-to-remember acronym for non-sleep specialists to recognize sleep problems. Blenheim et al. Recommends an integrated model of sleep education guided by existing sleep theories, inclusive of inter- and intra-individual, family, community, cultural, psychosocial, educational, and political contexts. Brockman-Dinner's ecological systems approach to sleep education, inclusive of promoting sleep health throughout the life cycle, delivers community-based messages and policies regarding sleep health in the public health arena and school curriculum. It is a template we would like to use in developing this campaign. Our hopes for today's presentation is to generate more dialogue regarding the proposed program matters, general feedback and support, and additional counsel for moving forward towards program launch. Thank you very much for listening to our presentation. We welcome your questions and comments.